Hello, everyone. Happy Ascension Assistance Sunday. Hello, hello, hello. It is Catherine Massell, Ascending Earth Creatrix, Master Intuitive Energy Healer, Spiritual Mentor, and Life Guide. Hello. Hi, Savitri. Happy Sunday. I hope that the sun is not going to be a problem because it keeps going in my eyes. So let me share this in my group. It may be on another page, who knows. But say hello, let me know you're here. If you're watching the replay, let me know you're watching the replay. Maybe tell me where you're watching from. As I share this. Nope, you're not gonna cooperate with me, are you? There we go. Okay. Hi, Lamorla. Welcome. Thanks for being here. So today I have a topic that I think is pretty juicy, pretty pertinent to where we're at right now and what's been, what we're at the tail end of from this year. A lot of the energies that presented themselves in 2018 kind of put us in a spiritual tailspin, a mental and emotional, sometimes even physical tailspin. But you got to understand that it's not that this stuff is happening to us. It's happening for us. There's always a silver lining. There's always something that we can take away from this and allow to enrich our lives if we allow that, because we are free will beings and we have the choice of perspective. We have the choice of being able to say, this happened to me, the world is against me, God doesn't love me, I'm never supported, good things happen to other people, they never happen to me. We have the choice to frame our perspective. We have the choice to look at what's happening and say, well, okay, this is eventually something that could lead to my highest and greatest good, or this is something that's going to just screw my life over even more. It's up to you. I always choose to take the high road personally, but, I wouldn't be a very good coach if I had a different spin on that. But what happens with, let's just say, when we have prolonged periods in our life when we feel like maybe things are spiraling out of control, or we feel that we are not in control of our destiny any longer, that things have reached a level of inaccessibility, like I feel like I don't have any control over my physical environment, I can't control my thoughts, I can't control the way other people treat me, and we stop believing that this is all created from an internal state first and that it gets mirrored or projected in our external world. And we start believing that the opposite is true, that everything in the external world creates our inner state. Now, that's not to say that what we see or experience in our outer world has an effect on us, because if you believe in the theory, and I don't think it's more than just a theory, but the idea of epigenetics, that our external environment triggers certain genes to express themselves, to be turned on or to be turned off. And that creates a long-term, not only worldview, but it creates a personality. It goes beyond just creating traits or a mood. It creates who we are overall, our personal identity, the way we define ourselves and our personal reality at large. So it is a constant feedback loop, what happens in our external environment. And we think that because of, let's just say, the culmination of many, many things that have happened in 2018 that allowed us to feel like our lives blew up, or things have spun out of control to such a degree that I don't even know where to start to put things back together again. We start believing mistakenly that this external environment informs us who we are. It allows us to believe in how we define ourselves, who we think we are in terms of our complete identity. This has always and ever shifted from the internal first. But we forget that when we get wrapped up in so many things that made us feel like our lives blew up. And many people that I talk to, there's people on both sides of the fence of this. Hey, Patrice, that some people feel like, okay, my life blew up, but I needed it to happen. And if these series of events didn't take place anyway, I was going to take pains to blow up my own life and make this happen, because I just can't have this way of life continuing anymore. It's no good. I don't want it. Or you have people on the other side of the fence who are, yeah, this year blew up my life. It's unrecognizable to me. I don't feel at home in my world anymore, but now I don't know who the heck I want to be, what I want to do, what I want to have. I literally have to start everything from scratch and start from square one, and it puts people into panic and crisis, okay? So for many people, and this is just people I'm talking about who are checked into energetically what's happening with the planetary shifts, heightened frequencies of energy coming into the planetary field, and how that affects us as humans. Changes, upgrades in our DNA, changes, upgrades in our overall cellular structure. We're becoming more crystalline in form. This is the people who are just checked into that. Largely, there's a lot of people on this planet who are not checked into, hey, the planet is ascending, and this is what all of that means. You know, I don't live in a bubble. I try not to live in a bubble. I understand that most of the world doesn't think the way I do, or doesn't look at these things or consider these things in the same way that I do. What most people think is that their lives are spinning out of control, they're going into some sort of tailspin, and they feel like they are no longer in the driver's seat of their own lives. This is crisis mode, and for many people, this is the normal operating state for a lot of people on the planet. Hi, Miranda. Thanks for being here. And when you think about, there's been a lot of studies about how the human brain works, how our mind field works, and we fire about 70,000 thoughts a day. Hi, Maria. 70,000 thoughts per day. And it's also estimated that about 80% of those thoughts are negative. So what does that tell you about what the normal operating state is for the average person? If largely the field of thought is generating a negative field from an internal state and then rippling outwards, it doesn't stay in here. What we think, we act on. What we think, we believe. What we think, we feel. And so that gets rippled out in our external state. And because we are vibrational beings, if most of the people on the planet who are thinking 70,000 thoughts a day and having 80% of those thoughts be negative, vibrationally speaking, how do you think that ripples out into the collective? So many of us on this planet are feeling like we're lost, like we're in this tailspin, like we are going in this descending spiral of confusion, overwhelm, upheaval, and turmoil, okay? You don't have to look too far out in the world or pay even that much attention to the news to see that this is showing up in the physical world in a very real and a very tangible way, okay? So many of us on this planet are operating at a level of crisis mode all the time. Because if you are thinking largely, 80% of your thoughts are focused on negative thoughts. That means that you are setting off a cascade response, literally a chemical response in the body that allows you to have feelings that corroborate those thoughts. So all of those feelings that go along with these negative thoughts, which align with, grief, sorrow, anger, frustration, blame, resentment, suffering, guilt. Did I mention guilt? Struggle, okay? Panic, worry, anxiety, a hopelessness about the future. This is what most people are thinking and feeling on a regular basis. This is their regular operating state of reality. That's sobering. I'm not here to bum you out, though. What I want to tell you is that even though this may be true, we have every opportunity to be able to change that at the drop of a hat. And we can, if we are creating awareness, if we are involved in our inner world, meaning we're able to move into more this objective observer mode of being able to monitor our thoughts and our subsequent feelings that align with those thoughts, and to better monitor and be aware of our daily actions as they corroborate those thoughts and feelings, we have every opportunity available to us to get out of crisis mode. But I want to talk about this a little bit more, because what does crisis mode really mean? Crisis mode is being in survival mode, okay? When we are in survival mode and we are focusing on those thoughts and feelings that I just went through, we focus on everything that isn't right in reference to the relationship we have with our outer world, okay? And for many of us, our tangible physical experience is what defines us as people, who we allow ourselves to believe we are, even though this is largely a false projection of self. But what we see when we look out at our external world, and that what we feel about it, remember what I said, there's a feedback loop, so it goes right back in where we internalize it and we make it then our inner world. And it's this constant feedback loop that we're in. So if, using the example that I shared with you, many people feel like 2018 blew up their life, they're just trying to get by at this point. They're just trying to get through the day. You're just trying to get through this day, this week, this month, this year. Before you know it, a year has gone by where you've been in this crisis mode, where you're just managing. You're not in a creative state. You literally can't be, because these are two different states of consciousness, survival mode and creator mode. When you are in survival mode, meaning you are constantly in this state of, I'm just trying to manage this crisis so I can get through this day, so I can get through this week. And I'm feeling a sadness here, so I know that some people are checked into what I'm saying, kind of energetically checked into those of you who are watching live. If I'm just trying to get through this day, through this week, through this month, I'm just managing a crisis. That is survival mode. So what happens in the body is you are thinking more negative thoughts, probably even more than 80% of your 70,000 thoughts a day. You are feeling the feelings that align with that because you have a thing that happens called coherence. So when you think a thought, automatically the body responds chemically with a feeling. It has an emotional response that validates that thought. Largely, this is an unconscious connection, and we're not actively participating in it, mostly because, number one, we're in crisis mode, we're just trying to get through, so a lot of us are just on autopilot most of the time, okay? We're not being objective, conscious observers or participators in the way we are thinking or feeling, and we're not directing that. We're just kind of living by default in this constant response mode, like action and response, crisis and response mode, all the time, all day, every day, sometimes for weeks, months, years on end, okay? What that does to the body, because of the stress hormones being released, you know, the chemical response that happens in the body when it goes into survival mode, fight or flight, is very detrimental on a physical, mental, and emotional level. Very detrimental. It causes progressive deterioration of the body over time. When we start to feel poorly, then how do we start thinking? And if you've already been thinking pretty crappy to begin with, if your body starts to follow suit and you think you feel even more poorly, then you start to think even more poorly. And it becomes this cascade effect, this downward spiral where we keep going down in this loop, and then we find that there is just more crisis to manage. And it's only because we're not consciously checked in to all that is happening. We are allowing this default mode to be our everyday, normal operating mode of being. And before you know it, months go by. Before you know it, a year goes by. And I know for some of you watching, maybe not here live, but some of you watching the replay, this is a very real feeling for you, because here we are at the end of 2018 and it feels like I wanted to do all the things. January started, then it was February, I had all the things that I wanted to do. Hey, Sarah, and I didn't get to do them. Maybe you got to do one or two of them. But how checked in to that were you? How much momentum did you create from that? You know, maybe you had a short-term change or a shift, but let's face it, maybe you made that short-term change or shift while you were in crisis mode. because it got to this point of, this has to change. This is so bad right now. I can't go on living this way. This has to change. But when we make decisions and when we actually make changes or shifts at that level of consciousness, here's what happens. Because we are in crisis mode, because we are in survival mode, which is not a creative state, the body is all about, I just got to keep working on getting through this day. I just got to keep working on getting through this project, getting the kids off to school, getting dinner made, getting this project finished because my deadline is tomorrow for this. It's this constant mode of urgency and desperation. When the body and mind create a coherent state, fixated on this common goal with a sense of urgency and desperation to just complete this, to just get through it, we are not in a creative state. You can't be. The body doesn't free up energy to say, hey, let's come up with some really great ideas about this next project I want to work on, or something really fun I want to build with my business. It is two completely different states of mind, and they are counter-conducive to each other. They are counterproductive. They counter-intend things, if that makes sense. So here we are trying to make changes, trying to make even decisions about making a change from this level of crisis, from this level of survival mode. And we may have short-term shifts, we may have some relief from this state of being, but it's fleeting, it's momentary. Because when we are thinking at this level, when we think about making a change, we're doing it with the completely wrong perspective. We're doing it because things have gotten so bad that they have to change. Because you don't even recognize who you are anymore. You don't feel at home or connected with self. You don't even know who that is anymore. Let's face it, many of us feel that way. You don't feel connected with your family, with your friends. You feel like kind of a hollow shell. Your movements, your feelings, your thoughts become rather robotic and automatic. You're not present. You're always thinking about that next moment, that next week, that next thing that's due, that next thing that is distracting you and taking your attention away from any ability to be present with yourself at any given moment in time. This is our normal operating mode. And when it continues like that for so long and we hit the wall, we think, okay, well, this has to change. But then we go into this feeling of, this has to change because it's gotten so bad. We don't think, this has to change because this is not loving to me. We don't make that distinction in that moment, and we really should. This has to change because I can't stand it anymore, is our perspective. When rather, we should come at it from the perspective of, this has to change because this is no longer loving to me. Because I am no longer willing to be available for this level of crisis mode anymore. If we were to make a declaration like that, we are doing so from a higher state of mind. And we immediately jump out of that survival, that crisis mode, and adopt or reach for that next highest level of frequency or vibration that gets us out of survival and crisis. But we don't do that because we're not present enough with our thoughts. All we're thinking is, I got to get out of this because it's so bad. And then, to make it worse, we start thinking about all the ways, if we don't get out of this right now, if we don't find a way to change, if we don't find a way to shift or transform, all the other things that could go haywire if we don't change it. Who does this? This used to be me, okay? The focus is so much on surviving that we then turn off our creative impulses. We stop thinking about what we should, which is, if this ends now, if I say I'm no longer available for this now, if I say that this is no longer loving to me, here's what my life could look like. Here's who I could be. Here's how I get to focus on what I really want. Here's how I get to design my ideal version of self, and then begin to act on that every day and take new behaviors or adopt new behaviors that align with that new me every day. We don't have the presence of mind to think about that in this survival crisis state. Instead, we focus on all the ways, the myriad of ways that this could get even worse. And then we put our attention into that. And that creates even more of a downward spiral. That puts us more into survival mode. It sets off yet another cascade of chemical responses in the body that make us feel disillusioned, It makes us feel like we're suffering, like we are struggling, like we're climbing up out of a hole, or we are drowning and we're trying to get ourselves up to the surface again for air. This is our normal operating state for many of the people on the planet right now. Give me a heart if this is you or if this resonates with you. Because I know that this was me for a long time. And I was in self-denial about it. I was in self-deception about it. And I was so busy in the process of being me, which was my survival, everyday crisis mode of being. I was so busy in the practice of being me and so caught up in my busyness that I didn't realize that nothing what I was doing was being productive. It wasn't being productive, allowing me to become the person I wanted to become. It was just the busyness of being me and my ego self. When we do have those moments of realization, I gotta change, this has gotta shift, I can't go on like this, we fixate on how many more things can go wrong if we don't fix it. All the ways our lives can just get worse, right? This only adds up in more stress, more survival mode chemical response, more crisis mode. So then we try to change our lives from this place, from this level of consciousness. So most of us were never really turning off survival mode. We're never really turning off crisis mode. And we trick ourselves, and the ego is more than happy to help us along with this, because the ego really doesn't like change. It wants to keep you in your familiar state. So the second you try to move into a different state of consciousness beyond the ego self, it will tell you things like, you're never going to be better than this. Remember that time you tried to change this before? How did that go? We got right back to this place, didn't we? Remember how your mother told you would never amount to anything? Well, she was right. Look at you now. Remember how your boss told you you're never going to get that promotion because you're just you're not made of that material to be able to be promoted or do this next level of work. You're too distracted. You don't have enough training. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough at this. The ego is more than happy to keep you right where you are, because that means that the ego still remains it remains the master, when in actuality it is the servant. So anything the ego can do to stay in that role of being the master of your reality, it's going to tell you things disguised as practicality. It's going to tell you things disguised as this is right for you at the time. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you should be doing. That's all inner critic voice. That's all ego voice. Trying to keep you exactly where you are, because the ego doesn't like change. And it will fuss and fight and kick and scream and throw tantrums. And it will tell you all the things about how you're not good enough, not smart enough, you're not enough, period. Whatever that is. And so we're happy to stay in the survival mode because it becomes so familiar to us after a certain amount of time that it just feels like, well, this is just me. This is just life. And the hardest thing for us to admit at that time is it's life, but it's the life that we have chosen. Through not being willing to change our thoughts, not being willing to change the way we feel, staying addicted to our emotional reality, staying addicted to that feedback loop that we have with our external environment that we allow to tell us who we are. These series of outer events that happen outside of us, we allow that to define us. And we think of our personality and our identity in relation to that outer world, when largely that outer world is only 0.00001% of reality. When the quantum field of potential, meaning everything that we can be, everything that we want to be, do, or have, the greater life, our idealized version, our highest and best version of ourselves, all of that, which is totally accessible, is 99.9999% of reality. But instead we fixate And it's very easy for us to do because it's very seductive, especially when we have the voice of the ego keeping us focused and fixated on this outer world and our relationship to it, and allowing that to tell us who we are. And we allow ourselves to believe that's who we are. That is a choice. That is a choice. And the most sobering realization for many of us is that we are choosing this every day. We're not choosing to be different. We're not choosing to think differently. We're not choosing to feel differently. We're not choosing to behave differently. And if we're honest, many of us get up the same day and it's just a familiar reminiscence of a day past. We are bringing our past, a familiar past reality of the day before, the days before, into our present over and over again, which is a predictable destiny that's created when you don't change your thoughts, when you don't change your feelings, and you don't change your actions. So if you want to move out of predictable destiny, if you want to move out of crisis mode, if you want to move out of being in survival mode, you have to adopt a different state of consciousness. There is no other way to do this. You may adopt some short-term shifts from trying to create change from this level of ego mind. You may have momentary relief, fleeting moments of maybe some lucid thinking and clear thoughts and fleeting moments of creative inspiration, but it'll never stick around because you are not opting for a different state of consciousness. You are not opting to tell the inner critic, the inner judge, to shut up, to quiet down, pipe down for a little while. I got other work to do. We're not willing to think about what it is that we really want. And let's face it, many of us are very, very good at figuring out what it is that we don't want. If I was to ask any of you right now, what do you don't want? You would give me a grocery list. You would give me Santa's list of all the things that you don't want in your life. You have that very, very clearly nailed. And you could just rattle it off to me, all the things that you don't want, correct? But if I was to ask you, what do you really want? If I ask you right now to fast forward to a year ahead, December, what is it today? December 16th, 2019. And I ask you to think and feel into who that person is at that time. Let's be honest right now. Are you any different than who you are right now? In the foreseeable future, do you see yourself making massive changes to the way you think every single day? Those 70,000 thoughts that you have every single day? Are you willing to change the negativity to get it down to at least 50% from 80%? That's a huge leap right there. And it's totally achievable. But there is no magical external event that comes in and changes that. There is no rescue squad that swoops in and says, oh my God, this girl's in trouble, let's fix her up. This is an internal state change that must happen through your own volition, through your own power of will, through your own dedication, through your own commitment, through your own focus. And it has to be such a strong belief to be this person that you want to become, that nothing in your external environment can move you from that. You have to have an unflinching focus and dedication to this way of being. That no matter what garbage anyone says to you, including your own inner critic, or someone in your life, a friend, a toxic friend, family member, a coworker, an external event, an experience, a trigger that would normally send you into a tailspin, none of that can move you from the dedication and the focus that you have to being this person, to getting what you really want. But that all starts with you getting really, really clear on what it is that you really want. So I want to share something with you. Because I never like to do these lives and just say, well, here's all this stuff, good luck with that. I'm never that person, ever, ever, ever. And if you've watched me for a while, you know I'm not that person. I always want to give you something to work with. I always want to give you something tangible that makes sense and can reach you where you're at right now. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you. I'm going to finish this on replay. I have to run, but ooh, it's so good. Yes, do watch the rest of it, Tammy. Thanks for being here while you could. I know you're busy holiday season. It's a good problem to have. So if you want to get clear on your why, if you want to be this person that I'm talking about, that you are so fiercely, ferociously dedicated to this new you, that when you fast forward to December 16th, 2019, and think about the person you could become, what does she look like? What does he or she feel like? How do you make that very real and tangible, so real and tangible that you could live in that end result right now? And feel her, think like her, believe like her, act like her. Because that is a goal. That is the goal. The goal. Because you don't get to be this person unless you start acting like you are this person right now. That is how you set up a vibrational frequency that is a match to who it is you desire to become, that idealized version of self. There is no other way. There is no other way. You can set goals until the cows come home, but if you're not willing to think, believe, feel, and act like this person that you have designs on, good fucking luck. Sorry to be so sweary. But you need to get this. Because until we move out of self-delusion about what it takes to become this person, this idealized version of self, until we completely get rid of any self-deception we're holding on to about what it takes, that you can show up as this person once in a while and somehow it's going to work out, or someone's going to swoop in, your fairy godmother with a magic wand, and poof, you're this person. I'll see you next year and we'll have this talk again. There is no other way. You have to be fiercely dedicated and focused, and you have to be this person now. There are ways to step into this person now. Because the second you can imagine it, she exists. Think about that. That is how powerful we are as creators. The second you have ultimate clarity on who she is, what she thinks like, what she believes, where she's hanging out, what she's doing, what she's reading, what she's wearing, who she's hanging out with, where she's traveling to, the live talks that she's giving. Hello, Patrice. The books that she's writing. Until you can put yourself in the role of that person and live as the end result of that person, and you are so clear about all of those things, all the feels are as real as if you were living this life right now, until you learn how to do that, good luck. Good luck. It's going to be really, really difficult. And you're going to be struggling and suffering, and you're going to go back into the ego mode and says, but I'm trying. There is no trying. Can I quote Yoda? There is no try, only do. You have to do. You have to be. You have to act like you are being this person. You have to act like you are doing things as this person does. You have to feel like this person does. You have to believe like this person does. And you do it now. There is no waiting period. It's now. And if you don't know how to do this now, then you get the help that you need to. You get someone who knows what the hell that they're talking about, and you get someone who shows you the way. And for a while, you do. For a while, you do, and you be, and you act, until it becomes so real, such an immovable force within you, that it's just who you are. And then a year later, December 16th, 2019, there you are. The perfect embodiment of the idealized version that you created a year ago, because you could imagine her, because you could feel her, because you could see her, you knew her. That is how this works. But when you're really focused and dedicated, it doesn't take a year. In a year's time, think about you perfecting this person. In a year's time, you've become this person so that it's such a powerful, potent, passionate version of you that the old you, the memory of the old you, has faded so much that you wouldn't even know how to go back to be her if you tried. When I think about that, I get teary, because that's how I feel about my life right now. When I think back to my December 16th, 2017, that old memory of me has faded so much that I couldn't go back and be her if I tried. Not that I would want to. Not that I don't have love for her. I do. Because I wouldn't be who I am now if it wasn't for her then. Because it was that Catherine that imagined this Catherine. If that makes sense. So you gotta love her too. You gotta love that old version of you. Because she got you where you are. Because without her imagining you, you wouldn't be here. Even you right now, okay? So I want you to get really clear on who that is. And how you get clear on who it is that you want to become is you ask yourself, why? Okay, when you think of, all right, I want to be this person. I'll read it to you from my list. I do mindfulness work and mental rehearsal and meditation where I move myself beyond the ego state. And I move myself into a superconscious state. And I do the work of rehearsing, creating a more idealized version of myself. I'm a work in progress. You're a work in progress. Even though I love my life right now, it is my passion to just become a better, more idealized version of myself all the time. I strive to be better. I strive to be more professional. I strive to be more loving, more compassionate. These are the things on my list, okay? When I create and rehearse this version of me, who I really want to become, I'm focused on loving kindness. I'm focused on compassion. I'm focused on giving of myself from the heart. I'm focused on my confidence, that I command respect, that I feel supported financially, that I feel safe. Money always comes when I want it, and there's always more than enough. I always have more money left over at the end of the month than I spend. That I'm powerful, I'm strong-willed, I'm creative, I'm inspired, I'm innovative, but I'm easy to be with. I have a level of expectation in my life that things are going to just work out in my favor. I have this level of anticipation of all of these great things that are going to work out in my favor. I am worthy, I'm enough, I'm deserving, I'm grateful, I'm appreciating, I'm caring, I'm happy. I'm happy. I'm the happiest than I have ever been in my whole life. And it's because I took control of that and stopped thinking that any outside forces, anything in my external environment was going to make me happy. I had to make me happy in here and in here first. And then lo and behold, my external reality started to corroborate that. I'm open. I'm candid. I am funny, I'm easygoing, I'm wise, I'm intellectual, I'm joyful. I'm healthier than I've ever been. I'm better than I've ever been as a person. I have good self-care, I'm giving, I'm charitable. One of the reasons why I do what I do is because I love to give of my time and give of my money so that I can make this world a better place than how I found it. That's part of my why, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. I'm a thought leader. I'm a way shower of a new reality. I'm understanding. I'm accepting. I listen. I'm a listener. I'm fit. I'm healthy in mind and body. I'm self-possessed. I am self-assured. I am appreciative. You see what I'm getting at here? This is how you create a person. You give her 3D surround sound. You make her real. You make her tangible. You can reach out and touch her. Until you get an idea of this real person that you want to become, it just becomes this kind of shadowy, kind of lofty goal that you feel like you're reaching for, but is never really attainable because you're not clear about who she is. Get really clear about the person you want to be. And then I go into all the things that, this is just about how I want to think and feel and act. I haven't even talked about the events that I want to take place in my life, like doing more live speaking engagements, leading retreats, attending more retreats, traveling abroad, signing up more people in my group programs, being booked out with my DNA activations that I do and the Mother Creatrix DNA activations that I do. I'm being booked out with my VIP days, having more intimacy in my life with my husband, more time with my husband, freeing up more of my schedule because I'm making more money so that we can travel more and have more fun and do things that we can enjoy together as a couple. never having to worry about money. That's another thing. Wanting to be able to give charitably and not ever have to worry about, well, you know what, I'll give this money, but how am I going to put groceries in the fridge? Or maybe I don't have enough money to go out to dinner this week. Well, I don't want to think about that anymore. I'm no longer available for lack. That's the other thing. So this person that I want to become, I'm only becoming more of her all the time. She's only becoming more real, more tangible, more touchable. And it's because I am her now. And I take steps every day to move me more towards that idealized version of self. And I align my thoughts to be that idealized version of self. I align the feeling state of I no longer worry. I'm no longer available for lack. So my feelings, which I've memorized for so long to be aligned with lack or frustration or suffering or guilt, I don't feel those things anymore. I'm no longer available for that. And if you become so adept at becoming this person, those old feelings, those memorized, those addicted emotions that you had before, they fall away. It starts this process of detaching from the old memory of you, so much so that eventually that old memory of you fades, so that you wouldn't even know how to be that old you if you tried. You'd have to learn all over again how to be her again, but you won't want to do that. Trust me. And when you get to this state, there's no going back. You just can't. And literally it is because you stop firing the neurotransmitters, you stop firing neurons in the brain that make those connections that were that old identity of you, that old personal reality and personality of you. Those connections don't line up in the brain anymore. You know why? Because you're not that you anymore. You're a different you. This doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen when you check into this new you that you want to be a couple times a week. It has to be a dedicated and focused commitment and dedication to being this person. And if you're not good at doing that on your own, I'm not saying you can't do it on your own, but in the beginning you may need guidance. In the beginning you may need support. In the beginning you need a cheerleader. In the beginning you need someone who helps you course correct, because you're going to go off the rails. That's a foregone conclusion. In the beginning, when we do this work, the ego is going to derail you. The inner critic is going to derail you. Your inner judge is going to tell you all the reasons why this can't happen. Trust me. So who's going to be your cheerleader? Are you good enough right now at being the objective observer where you can tell the ego to go take a hike? Most of us aren't very good at that. So you may need the support. You may need that help. But think of it as you only need this help in the beginning, because then once you have that personality very well established, you are just that person. It's just who you are. But one of the biggest ways you can help yourself out of getting derailed is what I want to share with you here on this call. And it is this really powerful process, getting to your deeper why, okay? And this is a really powerful process to do with another person. So if you have, a good friend, your husband, coworker that you want to do this with, you can do it on your own. But I like to have my husband ask me these questions, because it really, really helps me to be on the spot and answer the whys, the series of whys from, first of all, you'll start answering from your head. And then as the whys go deeper, you answer from your heart. Your why for becoming this person is everything. Your why for becoming this new idealized version of you will trump everything else in your external environment, all the old stinking thinking, all the old memorized addicted emotions that you have to being the old you. Your why, if it is more powerful than anything else, will keep you from being derailed. And it will keep you focused on doing this work, because what I'm talking about here, it takes you 8 weeks to create this new personal reality if you are dedicated to it and you do it every day. 8 weeks. 8 weeks. That's how long it takes to get new neural connections in the brain, to stop firing the old neurotransmitters that related to the old you, that allowed you to identify as the old you and become a new one. It's not to say that you don't have to do any work after 8 weeks. You do. But then it just starts to become, you become this person. You are this person living in this whole new, more deliberate personal reality that is much more fulfilling. Okay? So your why. Why do you want to become this person? Why? When you get clear about the kind of events you want to have take place in your life, and just think about this in the next year. Give yourself this timeline of the next 12 months. Who do you want to become? What does she look like? What does she feel like? What does she think? What does she feel every day? What kind of events, activities is she involved in? What is she thinking and feeling? Remember my list that I shared with you? How is she acting? Is she carefree? Is she candid? Is she funny? Is she healthier? Stronger? More self-confident? More self-assured? More self-possessed? Who is she? And then think about, why do you want to become her? Because this is your everything. And this is the key. And this is what a lot of people miss. And this is why a lot of people fall off the wagon doing this work. Your why is everything. Why do I want to become this person? That's your first question. You're going to ask this 7 times, so you go even deeper at each level. I want to be this person because it makes me feel good to be in control of my personal economy, meaning having more money, more freedom in my life. Motivation, absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Why do I want more freedom? Because it allows me to have more choices. For a long time, I felt pigeonholed into being able to do maybe 1 or 2 things, or maybe I didn't feel like I had more than one choice ever. I want more choices in my life. And for me, financial freedom, especially, and having the freedom to do whatever I want at the drop of a hat, means I have a lot more choices. Okay. Why is it important for me to have more choices? Because it makes me feel more independent. It makes me feel like I am the master, the mistress, the goddess of my domain. The goddess of my domain. No one tells me what to do. I've never been good at that anyway. Haven't anyone tell me what to do. I want to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, where I want to do it. Okay, so that's freedom, but I'm going deeper with it, okay? So keep going deeper. Keep asking the why. Why do you want to do what you want to do, whenever you want to do it, where you want to do it? Because I want to be able to free myself up to do more things in this lifetime. I want to do all the things. I want to travel. I want to see more of the world. I want to be able to offer my services to more people throughout the world, meaning I want to travel and maybe do live talks wherever I possibly can. Who knows? France. I know my husband has big designs on going to New Zealand so that he can go on a mountain biking tour, and that'd be great. He can go mountain biking for 2 weeks and I can do live talks for 2 weeks. How fun would that be? Because for me, having that freedom spills over to the people in my life that I love. Being able to do what I want, when I want, where I want, means that I get to take other people along with that. Because if I have that level of freedom, that means that I could take, one of my best girlfriends that I grew up with and say, you know what? I'm going to pay your teacher's salary for 2.5 weeks, and we're going to go rent a villa in Lake Como. Because I want that experience. For me, having money, freedom, and I'm talking about freedom of money, freedom of time, freedom of choice, is about doing all the things and experiencing that with the people that I love and care for. See, Patrice, you're giving me another opportunity to be more of myself, to have more experiences. Come to London, we can go to France for lunch. I'm in. I don't care about the stuff. I don't care about, I have a nice house. It's fine. It's actually bigger than what I need. I don't need to buy 10 houses. I don't need boats, although I live on Lake Tahoe and that would be great to have a boat. I don't need a yacht. I don't need furs. I don't need bling. I don't give a crap about that. I love experiences because life is one giant experience. And if I have more choices, more ability to be able to do that, all the better. And so then I keep asking why. I keep going deeper. I keep going deeper. Get to your bottom why. Ask yourself 7 times, based on what the answer was from the previous question, okay, why do you want more freedom? Okay, because I want to be able to have more Choice to say, I want to do what I want, when I want, where I want. Well, why do you want that? Because I want to share more experiences with people that I love. Why do you want that? Because for me, life is about giving and sharing. Okay, why is it for you that life is about giving and sharing? Because it's a human experience here that we're all in together. And I've lone wolfed it for much of my life, and I've felt very alone for many, many portions of my life. Big chunks of time in my life, I felt alone. I felt like I had to struggle with being alone. I felt like no one would understand me. And really, this was my way of insulating myself against being hurt. And being on this journey that I have been on has allowed me to feel more candid and open, because not only do I feel more love for myself, I feel more love for the world. And I want to share that. Because I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of being someone that could embrace love finally and share it in the most unguarded way. And if that means going out to all four corners of the world and screaming it from all the rooftops and bringing everyone on board with my vibration, then that's what I want to do. And that's the legacy I want to leave behind. The deeper you go into your why, the more emotion you feel. And the more emotionally charged you feel, that is positive, that is uplifting, that is empowering. Guess what happens to those 70,000 thoughts that you think in a day that are 80% negative? You get to change that to maybe 40% negative, 50% negative. And you get to go down from there. So that maybe you're not thinking any negative thoughts in your day. It's possible. Go through your why. Go through your journal right now and write down your why, and keep asking the whys until you've asked that question 7 times, getting deeper and deeper into the why. And if you don't get done with that exercise feeling totally pumped, full of so much momentum and drive and motivation and focus and dedication and passion that you want to go screaming from the rooftops all the things that you want to do, if you don't feel that way, you need to ask more whys. And if you really want to feel this way, evolve and expand. I have 1 spot left in this program. This is what we're doing. This is what we work on for 8 weeks, creating a whole new personal reality. If you want to start this next year with momentum, drive, focus, a kick in the pants when you need one, a cheerleader, someone who helps you course correct when you go off the rails, because you're going to. It's going to happen. I'm not one of those coaches that says, no, we're going to do this work and you're going to be great. It's going to be awesome. You're going to go all in. You're going to go through that level of self-doubt. But how good are you when it happens to you right now at pulling yourself out of it, at being the objective observer? It's a skill to be this objective observer, to be this mindful, aware observer of the thoughts that you think throughout the day, the feelings you feel throughout the day, and the actions that you're involved in, that you behave, how you behave throughout the day. Most of us are really not used to doing that. So in the beginning, it's about me teaching you and sharing with you how to develop that skill. So it's like 8 weeks of training wheels. And then after that, you guys are on your own and you can do this. You can be this person. So that when, let's say we finish this course together, which would finish the 2nd week of March, and I say to you, how much more real is that person now that you've decided you want to be December 16th, 2019? I bet I know the answer right now. If you show up and do this work, if you show up and do this work for me, that person you want to be December 16th, 2019, it's a done deal. It's a foregone conclusion. If you can already imagine her, and if you can already get to your why of why you want to be her, you've done some of the hardest work. Let me help you with the rest. Evolve and Expand starts January 2nd. I have 6 spots left. There is 1 spot left at $1,700 if you pay in full price tonight. There is a payment plan after that. After that, it's $19.99. That price is only available until the 19th, and then it goes up to $2,200. And I guarantee you it's worth every penny. If I have pumped you up in this call and made you feel this wealth of potential and possibility of what could happen for you, imagine what we'll do in 8 weeks' time. I want to wish you so much love and peace. Do this exercise. Figure out your why. Get pumped about who you are, why you want to be this person. And then don't be shy about sharing her with the rest of the world, because we need you. Love and peace.